is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. This is the Msp North Podcast, covering high school sports in Robertson and Montgomery County. Here are your hosts, Blaine Keller and Brady McAtamney.
Hey, guys. How we doing? Welcome back to another episode of the Msp North Podcast. It's postseason basketball time here in Middle Tennessee, and we got an awesome show lined up for you guys today. As usual, we're going to do our games of the week, our players of the week, our one thing segment. We're also going to interview Kenyatta Perry, head coach of the East Robertson girls basketball team, and Tyler Hickman, head coach of the district champion Clarksville Academy Cougars, who we've got on the line already. Tyler, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's our pleasure, man. District champions. It's got a good ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels good. Boys have worked hard all year, and, to reward it at the end with the district title, I think is, huge for our program. It's been 11 years. So for us, adding another banner up there is a good thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And to get there, you guys went through Friendship Christian and Good Pasture, who are teams that you went 1-3 against in the regular season, losing twice to Good Pasture, once to Friendship Christian. And two of those games were right before the postseason. I'm curious how you guys rebounded from those late season losses against teams that you had to go play again right away and come back to beat them.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with our guys and how they handle certain situations. We did not handle really any of those three losses very well. Against Good Pasture the first time, we turned it over entirely too much. Against Good Pasture the second time, we shot it really, really bad for the majority of the game. And then at Friendship, we were up 2 and foul a 3-point shooter late, and he makes all 3 free throws. So we really felt like we were in all 3 games. Even though you kind of come away feeling like now you're the 3 seed in the district. But the reality was we always felt like we were talented enough and we had the team to do it. Our boys finally crunched down and played the best defense we've played all year. And for us, when we get that kind of effort out of our defensive end, there's no doubt we have a chance to be special.
And Coach, you mentioned those games, beating Friendship Christian 65-61 in the semifinals, and beating Good Pasture 48-41 in the championship. Do you think you kind of proved both ways that you could win with your offense and win with your defense in the district tournament?
Yeah, I think so. It's actually funny you say that. We've been talking about that, a little bit as a coaching staff. Even though I talk about our defense being really good, Friendship hit 11 threes on us. Now, most of them were contested. They got some easy ones in the first half, but, we really grinded down the stretch and made them harder and harder. But, teams are going to shoot the ball well against us, and we've got to be able to play kind of both styles. And I thought this past weekend was a good example of that. I mean, Friendship hit 11 threes on Friday night, and then Good Pasture only shot 7 on Saturday. But trying to do it both ways, I think that's one of the good things about our team is, we're typically going to find ourselves in most games late, and it's going to come down to that execution late and making sure that we're doing the right things and finishing games how we're supposed to.
Yeah, now we'll get into tonight's game in a moment here, but looking at the region, how much do you know about some of the teams that you might have to go through, assuming that you've, looked over it a little bit?
Yeah, I think we've watched film on most of them. We've played Columbia Academy. FRA was in our Christmas tournament at Florida, so we watched a couple games, that they had played. I know FRA is not in it, but they played a couple teams, so we ended up watching some of their film. We watched USN twice. I've watched, enough of Webb just in terms of watching games throughout the year. So we have a pretty good idea of what those teams are capable of. There's no doubt it's a very good region. And we're looking forward to the challenges that await.
And when you maybe look at last night, Clarksville Academy girls, the number 2 seed in their district, and then the number 2 for the region, they drop one to Middle Tennessee Christian. Does that have any implication, towards you guys knowing that, it's one loss and then it's over?
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to a little bit. First and foremost, Charles does a good job, and our girls, have competed really well all year. I think it's obviously a frustrating end to the season for them, last night, but I think we have to use it as a sense of motivation and urgency. Just saying, how important this one is, and you got to get off to good starts, and you got to play well and try and protect our house. It's at our place tonight, so I think you have to use that in the sense of, most of our boys were at the game last night. They saw it firsthand, and nobody wants to go home at this point in the year. So, it's good for our boys to see it. I mean, I hate saying that for our girls program, but it was good for our boys to kind of see it firsthand and have it stick in their mind. So, such early recent history.
Yeah, you mentioned you had some of your boys in attendance there. One guy that was there was Eddie Ricks, who was just recently named a finalist for Mr. Basketball in D2A. I want to give you a chance here to state the case for Eddie to win that award.
Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, Eddie's a special talent. He averaged about 24 until we got into some of our district games where he didn't necessarily need to play, extended minutes. He's averaging about 21 in total now, 21 and 7. He's really started defending the ball. It's made a huge difference for us. He's playing great defense, rebounding at a high level. But I think the thing that people don't really understand about Eddie is, he's just a good teammate, and guys flock to be around him. And I think Eddie would be remiss if I didn't say that a lot of this had to do with his team and, the guys that are surrounding him and supporting him in every way. I mean, there's, a lot of guys who sacrifice, throughout our team, regardless of whether Eddie's shooting or somebody else is shooting. You got to make sacrifices on a good team. And so the team has a lot to do with that. But there's no doubt he's a special talent. Shooting the ball from about 35% from three. He's a special kid. And, he's one of those kids that, no matter what grade he's in or what grade the other competitors are in, it's just, come watch the kid play and you see the difference. He's not a post player. He's not a guard. He can play both. And he does both well. He scores at all three levels really well. And he's incredibly skilled to be 6'7" as a junior. And so, I think he should be the favorite. I know there's a couple kids out of Memphis that are there with him. And I know one of the kids pretty well because he's with FACS and they're a top team in our state. And so I understand that. But at the same time, I just think Eddie does a lot more than people realize for our team. He's not just a scorer. He does a lot of different things, and he's a great passer, and he's turned into a great rebounder for us too.
Well, I think it's obvious to say that the longer you go in the postseason, the more likely he would continue to be the favorite. And when you look at tonight's game against Columbia Academy, as you mentioned, that's a team you guys dropped a game to earlier. I believe that was in December, 44-47. Do you guys look back at that game at all in this one, or do you feel that you're a little bit of a different team from that point?
I think we're both different teams, which kind of makes tonight's matchup a little bit intriguing. I've said to our guys all week, the reality is this team isn't a 4 seed coming to our place. They're a 2 seed that just found a way to lose a semifinal in a consolation game. You go back and look at some of their film. They were beating Webb 17-2 in the semifinal game and ended up losing. And then Providence, maybe they were a little bit flat on Saturday, and Providence playing at home before their girls played in the championship game. And I think both of those scenarios kind of played out exactly opposite of what Coach Marty wanted for them. So we've got to be on our game, man. They're far from a 4 seed. We've obviously watched the game we played against in December, but we feel like we were totally different too. That was back-to-back with Clarksville High. So we played Clarksville High on Thursday night, lost in a close, kind of emotional, good crowd. And then an early Friday start. So we played before our girls, which is just rare. I'm not saying that that's, a bad thing. It's just rare and different. And, we weren't very good. And I think our boys would admit that. We both had a player out, or not out, but we had one who is just returning to our lineup, and they had one that was out. So, it's really hard to get a true feel for it, but at the same time, I think, everybody's excited for it. And I think there's no doubt we're playing much better basketball than we were that night.
Absolutely. It should be an excellent game. The battle of the CAs with Clarksville Academy and Columbia Academy. So looking forward to seeing that. I will be there in attendance, and should be a real good basketball game. Tyler, thank you for joining us, man. Congratulations again on winning the district, and best of luck going the rest of the way in the region.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks for everything you do, and hopefully you guys continue to follow us for at least another 3 or 4 weeks.
That would be awesome.
Well, Brady, I'll say this. Columbia Academy's got Griffin Cooper and Clarksville Academy's got Eddie Ricks. I think if I've got this right, Griffin Cooper, freshman or a sophomore, I know he's an underclassman. He took a trip to Vanderbilt during the course of the regular season for a game day visit. The kid is special. So I think you're going to see a really interesting battle between two special talents tonight. And, I'm not sure, I'm sure Hickman's guys are going to be ready to play, but it's got to be tough knowing that the 4 seed you're facing is, like he said, a 2 seed in actuality.
Yeah, it's a really tough first round matchup, but they just recently went through FCS. They beat Good Pasture, so they're used to going up against these really good teams. But yeah, like you said, Griffin Cooper, Eddie Ricks, that's going to be a primetime matchup. Those are 2 D1 kids, a lot of length, a lot of talent. And like I said, battle of the CAs. You don't really get that too often. Last night with Clarksville Academy and MTCS, it was a battle of the Lady Cougars, and now it's the battle of the CAs. But another team that is playing their postseason ball coming right up here is the East Robertson Lady Indians. We have Kenyatta Perry on the line. Kenyatta, how are we doing?
Doing well, sir. How are you?
We're doing good. So I want to start off by asking about this incredible single season turnaround that you guys have. Last season, not winning a game, and this season you are on the fast track to a district tournament. How does that kind of thing even happen?
Well, first it starts with your seniors. They kind of have to set the tone for the season, so they bought into what we were trying to do this year. We knew we had a good team coming forward with a lot of my freshmen coming in. We're going to contribute this year, and so when they bought into it, when they saw what the seniors were doing this summer, we can kind of see some of the things that were going to make this team a little bit special. And we were just hoping with how well we played this summer that it would transfer over into the season. And then we got off to a pretty good start, playing well. And you just kind of see the confidence growing as we went along. So I think we won 2 maybe games last year. It wasn't a whole lot, but we had some bright spots there. So it's just a matter of just being consistent, which we have been pretty good this year about being consistent and just building off of that.
And, as Brady kind of mentioned, Coach, obviously you guys are the 2 seed in District 8 1A, but with Joe Burns being the 1 seed and they'll be missing Grayson Bryant at least through that tournament, how does that game plan kind of change if you guys end up meeting for a third time? You split the regular season matchup, but Grayson Bryant's available in both of those for Joe Burns.
Mm-hmm. Well, it really doesn't change our focus because our goal was to win the district at the beginning. Just the road changed a little bit. We knew we were going to, run Joe Burns at some point in this tournament. Albeit being the championship game. Without her, they're a little bit different. Brooke is going to have to play a little bit of a bigger role than she already was playing. Reese is going to have to, step her game up a little bit in the middle. And a lot of her younger players are going to have to be put in roles that they may not be real comfortable playing right now. But with Jessica coaching over there, I think they'll be formidable either way. They'll have a tough game against Merrill Hyde Friday, but I assume that they're going to win that game. And that's kind of how we're going to prepare for them as we come up.
Yeah, and like you said, you guys had kind of a tough season last year with not many bright spots, and then all of a sudden this year you're winning a bunch of games. Is there any kind of learning curve of trying to handle that success or try to learn how to maintain that success especially for the younger players?
Well, our freshmen coming in, they actually had a really good middle school season where they went to the middle school state tournament. I believe they made it to the Elite Eight. So they were used to winning, and we could kind of see that as like I said, when we threw summer camp at MTSU, we won more games there this year than we have probably the last 2 years combined. And a lot of that is, to their credit that they didn't want to lose. They didn't want to start, high school as, us not being able to win a game. So our mindset was a little bit different. We're a little bit more focused. We paid a little bit more attention to detail. And so they're a very easy group to coach. You can kind of get on them, let them know exactly what you need for them at, certain points of the game or certain points in the season. And they really honed in and focused. And they went out and did everything they could to accomplish their goal, which right now we're, 2 games away from doing that.
And, Coach, you mentioned your freshmen, Ida Bernard, Katie Pennington are 2 starters in that starting lineup. When did you realize that those 2 were going to be something special for your team?
Well, like I said, it starts in the summer. You can kind of see the work ethic that they bring. Ida's all about business. She's going to be here. She's going to work as hard as she can. She's going to, give her all. And we saw that again, like I said, at the end of last year when we brought the 8th graders up. They played in a couple of games at the end of the year. And throwing them in the game, they were, Ida's not afraid of anything. She's just going to go play basketball. And she brought that same drive and mentality to this year's team. And that's why I knew right away she's going to probably be, one of my starting guards just for that reason alone. And then you add on it her ability to shoot the ball. She's an incredible freshman player. And then with Katie, you have more of the versatility of the ball handling, being able to adjust and guard multiple offensive players. And then with her ability, again, to score, that just kind of boosts our team as well. And when they're able to fit with what we've already had in place, that's what made this team really, really good. And then with the older players embracing them and not, holding grudges or being mad about it because they earned their roles on the team, that's what makes for a really good team. When you're playing for each other, you're not, no animosity, you just want to win the game. So they go out and they play for each other, which is, like I said, it's fun to coach, and it's been good to watch.
Yeah, and your daughter Kylie is a senior this season. Does that give you or your team any little extra motivation knowing that this is the last season that you'll have being able to coach your daughter?
I don't know if there's any motivation. Like I said, she's always wanted to be, play her best. Always wanted to be on good teams, and it's like really the first year we've had that opportunity to be a part of a really good team, more of a family. And like I said, I hope that shows on the court because if you can see the passion that they play with, they're always high-fiving, they're picking each other up. They rally around each other, whether we're playing good or bad. They're always together. And it's been wonderful for me to watch her be a part of that. But it's not, been my only goal is, for Kylie, it's a team. Like these seniors have been through a lot. They've grown a lot. Some of the roles have changed a little bit in the past. Rue's been my point guard or Savannah Hinkle, I should say, has been my point guard up until this point, and she had a shoulder injury. So she didn't get to play in the summer, and she didn't play at the very beginning of the year through the rehab process of it. And so now she's trying to get back into the groove, trying to find a niche or a role on this team. And that's kind of been an adjustment for her. I know especially wanting to play more than she is right now, but that's kind of the role that we're in at this point. And we had the same thing with Peyton. She didn't play this summer either, but she came back right away. And so her role, she kind of fit into the role that we had at that moment. And she's played really, really well, adjusted really well. And like I said, that's just part of that, being a team and trying to do this together. And I think winning kind of helped some of that, kind of solve some of those problems where you don't have the animosity or I need more shots or she's doing this. So winning is kind of the cure of that. But at the same time, you can see the growth of those seniors maturing and kind of bringing the younger players along.
And Coach, your team's a number 2 seed in the District 8A tournament. You'll have an opportunity, if you win your first game, the semifinal, because you'll have a first-round bye, you'll have an opportunity to meet up with Joe Burns again. But, Coach Holt said after you guys upset them at your place that they're the new up-and-coming team. In your mind, when you hear that quote and you think about playing for a district championship, hopefully at the end of this week, what do you think about that?
Well, that's kind of what we built for. And that's what we're, building towards, is trying to have that longevity or the not just 1 year of playing well, but consistently play well over 3, 4, 5 years, and a lot of that has to do with the players. Joe Burns had the players to be able to do that for 3, 4 years, and they were the team that you're shooting for to try to win or try to beat, I should say. And now we're getting close. We knew we were getting close after the first game. We played really well at their place, had an opportunity to win, and we ended up losing at the end. But I think just from that game alone, we grew a little bit as far as knowing what type of team we have and where we can get to. And so the second time we played them, and we actually pulled that game out and won, you can kind of, again, see the confidence growing that, yeah, we can play. We are pretty good. So the confidence is coming back a little bit. Because if you have, the 2 seasons we had the prior 2 years where we, winning 2 and 3 games the whole season, it can kind of take a toll on you mentally. So I think mentally we're getting a little bit prepared or a little bit better, awareness of where we're at. And so we're trying to kind of creeping back up into, yeah, we can play. We can play with Joe Burns. We can play with some of the better teams. It's just a matter of going on the court and doing it.
Well, Coach, best of luck over this weekend. It's going to be an exciting one for you and your girls. Regardless of the outcome, you guys do get that opportunity in the region tournament. So best of luck. You get to host the district and the region. So we're excited to see where you go from here.
No, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, Brady, time for our one thing segment.
Yeah, let's get into it. So as I was going through my notes, I was writing through this yesterday. One team that I wanted to talk about was West Creek. I wrote fighting through memories of a blowout because I thought that they might have to play CHS this week. If they were to win that play-in game, they'd be going in to play CHS, who they lost by 35. They're not playing CHS because they didn't win their play-in game. It's you were there. You'd be able to tell me more about the game, but losing to Springfield, that was just a heart crusher for them, I would imagine. But I'm going to turn that over to you because you'd be able to tell me more about that game. But West Creek boys, their season came to an end after starting 14-5 this season.
Yeah, my one thing goes in, with Springfield, that West Creek play-in. Springfield scores 26 points in the first 3 quarters. They look dead to rights. The first quarter, they had 8 turnovers and 1 made field goal. You couldn't have pictured a worse start. But they scored 27 points in the fourth quarter. Now, granted, I'll say West Creek kind of kept them in it. They had 10 personal fouls in the first half, and, Springfield was shooting a lot of free throws from technicals, and I think West Creek had 2 technicals in the first half, which really helped Springfield kind of stay in it when, they're not making any shots. But they had one lead the whole night, and they held on to it to win. And, I don't think anybody was really expecting it. West Creek had swept Springfield during the regular season, and it surprised me. But, it's kind of how Coach Russell Malone said for West Creek. There are 3 seasons. There's the preseason, before the district. There's the district, and then there's the district tournament. And the district tournament is 1 game. It can be, so.
Yeah, that's just calling it a heartbreaker is probably not enough to sum it up for West Creek. So, but their season's done. Springfield's going on. They're going to play Clarksville on Friday. And Ted Young, I was actually talking to him, I believe it was about a week or 2 ago, and he said he'd rather play West Creek than Springfield. So, not necessarily getting the matchup that they'd prefer, but should be an interesting game. Springfield's game.
That game was 51-44 in their first meeting at Springfield, a 7-point game. And I know Clarksville kind of took the reins on that second one. I believe it was 18, but 7 points, and JJ still had a pretty good game. I'm not calling for Springfield to upset Clarksville because Clarksville hasn't lost in the district and has, I think, 2 losses on the season. But there has to be there's obviously a reason Ted Young would rather play West Creek than Springfield.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Clarksville has played maybe 5 single-digit games all season. So, and Springfield being one of those, that's definitely impressive on their part. So, but Clarksville's not going to overlook them. They never do. But getting into my next team, we're going to talk about the Kenwood Boys. They can't lose that will to win. They just recently lost last night to Henry County. I believe it was a 2-point loss. They were leading in the fourth quarter, and that's obviously just a heartbreaker for them. You know, Henry County is always a rival for any school in Clarksville, and Kenwood really being their main adversary in District 14. That hurts them. That hurts them a lot. And they've lost games recently to Clarksville. They've lost games to Rossview. So, you know, they just can't lose that will to win. It can be easy when you're going through that adversity to just say, you know, like, man, like this isn't worth it. You know, what are we doing this for? But that's a really talented team. They've got a really good young coach in Chase Cronin. If they can keep fighting through, it's just a matter of, you know, getting through those really, really tough experiences and coming out stronger, you know, kind of rising up like a phoenix out of the ashes, that sort of thing, because they can win that district tournament. They almost just beat Henry County. So they know that they can win that game. And if they do get that 1 seed going into the region tournament, that's a lot better than being, you know, a potential 2 seed and having to maybe play Clarksville in the second round.
Well, I'll say in District 14 4A, that was probably the strangest thing I've ever seen, because they weren't playing in. Kenwood and Henry County were playing for the 1 and 2 seed. And my thought is there not a tiebreaker that decides that? It almost feels like with that 14 district, that's more of a disadvantage for the 1 and 2 seed, because now they have to play 3 games.
Well, here's the thing with that is that game actually got postponed to Tuesday. So, yeah,
okay.
So that was actually just their second meeting of the season. So that was a regular season game that they were playing on Tuesday.
That's so strange.
Yeah, a very late regular season game.
Well, I mean, and it didn't. I guess it decided the 1 and 2. So Henry County's the 1 and Kenwood is the 2 in that district.
Yep.
So Kenwood will play Northwest, and Henry County plays Dixon County. Is that right?
Yep, that's right.
Just a weird stuff over there in 14-4A. But on the other side, you know, let's talk about the other play-in game that happened last night, Springfield and West Creek. It was an interesting double header for a play-in between Springfield and West Creek, but big shout out to Springfield head coach Tara Corin. Had her second child on Friday, missed the team's season finale in the regular season at Spring Hill, and missed their 1 postseason practice on Monday, and then returned to the sidelines on Tuesday. And if you've ever seen Tara Corin coach, she likes to be loud. She likes to run around on the sideline. She even has these heels that have Springfield on the back of the heels, and she'll stomp them so our players can hear it. So it was a bit of a surprise whenever I saw her just sitting, you know, 3rd seed from the scorers table the entire game. And she comes up to me at halftime and says, you know, I can't stand up too much because I just had my kid. You know, Springfield ends up winning that game 60-42. The Lady Yellow Jackets advanced to the region tournament for the first time since 2016. So congratulations to Coach Corin and Scarlett, her first daughter.
Yeah, I mean, that is just incredible. I mean, some of the things women do, man. I mean, I couldn't even imagine. That's pretty incredible on her part. Congratulations to Coach Corin, and they're in the region now after winning that game. They got a tough district game coming up against Rossview, but they'll be in the region after that.
That play-in game is going to be huge. You know, if they lose to Rossview, which I think they're kind of, you know, both sides would probably expect. I know I saw Rossview's coach there last night, Justin Woods, but I'm pretty sure, you know, Rossview will move on being the number 1 team in that district. But that play-in game with what will likely be Northeast will be big, you know, because that gets you out of playing maybe Northwest in the first round of the region.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely. Now, my next team, like I said, I was kind of doing these notes yesterday. I wrote about the Clarksville Academy girls to, you know, kind of stay focused through stay tough through their tough region. But like West Creek boys, their season came to an end last night. They played a really good MTCS team and lost by a pretty decent amount. So that ends their season. Charles Clark, head coach at CA, even told me that, you know, this was kind of a rebuilding season for them. And that's kind of the end of it last night. They went 20-11, so not bad for a rebuilding season. But they only had one senior, Shay Khan. She had, I think, 5 points last night. She was a very good contributor for them. But overall, if you're going 20-11, calling that a rebuilding season, and then losing one senior, there are much worse scenarios than that. So, I think they got a lot of good experience this year. Obviously, getting to that region is huge. Finishing second in a really tough district with teams like Good Pasture, East Nashville, DCA. Just a very strong season for them. And I got to give them props. I got to give them a shout out for getting to the region. Unfortunately, it came to kind of a crashing end there, but that is the end of the season for the Clarksville Academy Lady Cougars.
And, I think I would almost take off one of their losses because it was to Blackman, who hasn't lost all season.
Yeah.
When you're playing a really tough team like Blackman in the middle of Christmas, I don't know. I mean, obviously no one else has beaten them, so I don't know. I think that's admirable in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
The last one thing I've got, East Robertson and Joe Burns will go for a twofer here. Both teams are 1 and 2 respectively in their District 8A tournament. The girls, Joe Burns is 1, East Robertson is 2, and it's flipped for the boys. East Robertson is on an incredible tear throughout the second half of the season. They haven't lost in 2022. They knocked off Greenbrier to end the regular season AAA team. They lost to pretty handily at the beginning of the year. And, that's just Greenbrier's third loss of the season. So, it's going to be an exciting region tournament, going to be an exciting district tournament. I've talked a lot about that region because you talk about Clay County and you talk about Pickett County. Just the idea of those teams facing off against Taylor Groves and even Taylor Head and Kenny Tolliver with Joe Burns. It's going to be some exciting games, I think, at the region. And all of it's at East Robertson, too. So there's no reason to not stop by for a game or two. Fortunately, I won't be there this weekend. I'll be celebrating a birthday. Make sure to follow Tyler Graves, who is the Connection sports reporter or news reporter and helps out with sports a little bit. He'll get all the coverage you need from those games.
Absolutely. And my final one thing is about the Rossview girls, and this is going to be as simple as it gets. Stay focused. They are the number 1 seed in the District 13 4A. If there were, before the region tournament, if there were seedings before the region tournament, they'd be the number 1 seed in the region too, because they have 2 wins over Clarksville. They got the win over Northwest. They did lose to Henry County during a holiday tournament. But I think they probably tell you that, they're probably not counting that one too much. But it is still a loss. But, I think if they do get that rematch, they're going to feel pretty comfortable, especially with that game being on their home court instead of having to go out to Paris. But as long as they stay focused, they've already beaten Clarksville twice. Granted, one of those was a 1-point game. The other was in a game where Amari Berry missed most of the fourth quarter. And when she wasn't, she was hobbled. So that gave them a good advantage when, one of the best players in the state is out. They blew Northwest out. So, as long as they can stay focused, as long as they can play their game, they're definitely going to be a favorite to host a sub-state game. And, if you're hosting that, you're bringing a team from Memphis all the way up to Clarksville. That's a heck of a home court advantage for you to potentially punch a ticket to state.
And you talk about home court advantage, with them hosting the district tournament at least, I mean, that's got to be good for them, especially whenever Amari Berry's got some motivation from picking up that University of Tennessee offer yesterday.
That's right. I was actually about to get into that. That's a good transition into our player of the week. I was going to name Amari my player of the week because she had really good games last week. She had a 17-point game against Rossview in a tough loss, and that was despite not really playing the fourth quarter. She had, I believe, 28 against Northeast, and like you said, just picked up that offer from UT. I mean, as a sophomore, that is pretty incredible to get an offer from the premier program in your state as a sophomore. Just congratulations to her. She's earned it for sure. She's a Miss Basketball finalist in 4A along with Tamia Scott from Northwest. So that, I don't see any reason why she shouldn't be my player of the week.
Well, she's definitely got, like I said, some motivation this week if they can get past Northeast in the semifinal round and, get a district championship against Rossview. Is that championship on Monday or Tuesday?
That would be on Monday, I believe. The girls will
Monday.
play on Monday.
Yeah. So my player of the week for the girls' side, Faith Johnstone of White House High School. It was an exciting game to close the regular season for the Lady Blue Devils. I know I'm going back-to-back weeks with White House, but this game was too good to not mention. White House trailed by 11 with 3 minutes left, but somehow came back to get their first win at Greenbrier in 8 years. An inbound pass in the closing seconds led to an assist to Johnstone, who was wide open for a layup. The Welch College signee is, best guard and best offensive player. So, they're going to really rely on her and really rely on Marley Hyde in the district tournament where they face Greenbrier in round 1.
Should be a fun matchup there. My boys player of the week, kind of similar situation to Amari Berry. I'm going with Eddie Ricks, who we talked about with Coach Hickman. He was named the D2 Middle 4 District MVP, the Tournament MVP, and just like Barry, he was named a finalist for Mr. Basketball in D2A. Coach Hickman said that he sees him as the front runner or the favorite for that award. So getting those is a huge honor. 3 big time things to kind of hang on his mantle or tell recruiters about. He's already got some offers from Division I programs, and I gotta imagine there's going to be more coming in very soon.
It makes me wish that Robertson County had a D2A school so that I could watch a little bit more of Eddie Ricks. I've seen him play once this year, and I've watched him play a lot last year, and he's just a really exciting kid to watch. If you couldn't tell by how much we talk about him on here, he's definitely a gifted talent. I'll go from one big man to the next in Springfield's Kamarian Flair. It's my boys' player of the week. We go back to the play-in game last night. He scores 11 of his 17 points. That's a game high in the second half. Kamarian's just so gifted around the rim and, within 5 feet. He's a lengthy guy. He's a little lanky, pretty undersized, but Springfield likes their undersized guys down low. You think about Savion Scott last year and a couple of guys the years before, but, he's going to be a big deal for them. And if they want to make any noise in the district, in the region, Clarksville on later in the week, I guess. And, it's hard to believe that he's just a junior. He's a great player. And honestly, for the longest time, I thought he was a senior this year just because of how well and how composed he kind of plays alongside Keyshawn Robinson. Kamarian Flair is going to be a big deal for Springfield down the stretch. And, we'll see what they do in the next couple of games.
Absolutely. Now, transitioning into our game of the week, I can pretty easily knock both of mine out in one here because we have potential rematches of Clarksville and Rossview in both boys and girls coming up. Now, in the boys matchup, Clarksville is the number 1 seed in the district. Rossview is the number 2. Last time these two teams played, what was that, about a week ago? Bobby Schmerda reference. That was unintentional.
Nice.
They played 1 week prior. It'll be a little over a week since once they do meet up, potentially about 2 weeks once they meet up, if that does happen. Rossview lost that game on last-second free throws by J.J. Wheat, and Rossview feels like that they didn't foul J.J. Wheat there. They feel like that they defended him well enough to force a miss, and were that the case, they'd have either had a chance to win it or gone into overtime. So I don't want to use the word robbed because that's a really strong word, but I think they definitely feel like they might have been slighted a little bit. So that could give them a chance to come out with some serious fire in that next game if they do get a rematch. And then on the girls' side, I kind of mentioned it. Rossi's the number 1 seed, Clarksville's the number 2 seed. They played a 1-point game earlier this season, and then in that same night as that Rossview Clarksville boys game I just mentioned, it was a really close game until Amari Berry started cramping up, and then Rossview kind of ran away with it because, well, their best player went out. So if they get a game where Amari Berry is healthy the entire time, she's probably going to be coming out wanting to win just because she doesn't lose to many teams twice. That has a chance to be an excellent game. So I am super looking forward to both of those potential rematches, and those would come on Monday for the girls, Tuesday for the boys.
Of all the things I thought we'd talk about today, I was not expecting a Bobby Schmerda reference. So
yeah, unintentional too. I wonder how many people in our audience will even know who Bobby Shmurda is, but
We should take a poll, I think.
yeah, if you know who Bobby Shmurda is, let us know on Twitter. Our Twitters you see on screen, or if you're listening, Brady MSP. It's Brady _MSP and sports __ BK. Let us know your favorite Bobby Shmurda song.
Now, going back to what you said about, Rossview feeling slighted, for a lack of better words. On Saturday, we were talking about this, and Coach Jackson for Rossview kind of sent some receipts to you about how he thought it wasn't a foul, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. He actually did. At first he responded on Twitter, because I did post the video of that play where we had the foul called. He actually initially responded to that on Twitter and said, "What foul?" And some CHS kids saw that, and well, as some people on Twitter like to call it, he was ratioed. And he eventually deleted it, but he did send me over DM a couple images and videos of plays where he thought maybe he'd have called him differently. So they're definitely going to keep that in the backs of their minds.
Well, kind of like how you did, I can knock out my games of the week in one foul swoop. I'll give a runner-up to Greenbrier and White House girls. That might be another fun one, a 3v2 game later in the week. That will be hosted by White House, and also White House Montgomery Central. That should be a good play-in game on Thursday. I know I'll be there, and it'll be exciting to see which team moves on to the region. But, of course, we go to another rivalry. I've mentioned it already, District 8-1A, East Robertson, Joe Burns. Joe Burns' boys really the only team that's been able to hang tough with East Robertson outside of maybe Trousdale County in the district. So an opportunity for those two teams to meet again. It's been low scoring. Taylor Groves has gone for 30 in one of them. I think he went for 32 in another. But the girls' side, obviously, East Robertson girls, we talked to Coach Perry. They might have an opportunity to really snag one from Joe Burns for such a big win, especially due to Grayson Bryan going down.
Absolutely. So a lot of good basketball coming up. It always does with when postseason time rolls around like this. It's a very exciting time for sports reporters. It's a very exhausting time for sports reporters. Today, as we're recording, this is day 3 of 9 in a row where I'll have games to cover. So living my best life right now.
Here's a question for you, Brady. How do you keep going through a 9-day binge of covering sports, staying out till 9 and then writing sports till about midnight?
Oh man. Knowing I have a good night's sleep coming up definitely helps. I've been drinking these like caffeinated teas lately, some cold teas, and those I've been getting larger sizes recently. Instead, I've been upgrading to the biggest size instead of just kind of like a medium. So that's definitely helped give me a little kick in the pants. But I mean, like I said, this is an exciting time. Postseason basketball. That makes it a lot more exciting than just kind of your average run of the mill. Tuesday game in January or November or something like that. So it stays exciting. We'll have postseason basketball, tonight, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and then on Saturday we've got potentially a championship game for Clarksville Academy boys if they're going to get that far. If not, I'll be going to Austin P basketball games against Tennessee Tech, and then Sunday Austin P baseball. Can you believe baseball season's already here? It's supposed to be a beautiful day. I think it's going to be in the 60s and sunny as they play Boston College. So really looking forward to that. The excitement kind of builds itself at this time of the year.
I remember it was probably 2 years ago whenever Austin P opened up with Eastern Michigan, I want to say.
Yeah.
That game was maybe 20 or 30 degrees outside. So, 60 and against an ACC foe definitely trumps, 30 against a MAC team.
A MAC team, that's right. The Eagles out of Ypsilanti, Michigan. It's I'm taking 60. I'll say that. But thank you guys again so much for tuning in. It was another great episode, in my humble opinion, of the Msp North Podcast. Follow along on Main Street Preps to get all of our coverage this week as we keep up with all of the action. It's going to be fun stuff. But until next time, thanks.
This has been the MSP North Podcast covering high school sports in Robertson and Montgomery counties with your host, Blaine Keller and Brady McAtamney. Follow them on Twitter at Brady_MSP. Also, Blaine at sports_BK. And, of course, always online at mainstreetpreps.com. The MSP North Podcast is a Main Street Media production.